Everybody focused on Nvidia earning today. But honestly, the most important thing that happened wasn't the earning beat, it was the reaction. Nvidia delivered basically a perfect quarter. Revenue exploded, guidance got raised, AI demand still looks insane, and the stock went nowhere. That's the tell. Because when the strongest stock in the market delivers perfect news and the buyers still don't chase it, something underneath the surface is changing. And I think a lot of traders are about to get trapped trying to force trades that worked over the last 6 weeks. Because today, leadership started rotating hard. So let's break it down in this video. And I want to be very clear here. I'm not saying Nvidia, the company, is broken. I'm saying the trade is breaking. There's a difference. This was the cleanest AI earnings setup imaginable. Everybody knew the numbers would be strong. Everybody expected upside continuation. And after all that, flat. That's exhaustion behavior. And honestly, you saw the same thing across the entire group. Money is leaving the AI momentum trade that's been carrying this market for weeks. Now, does that mean these stocks immediately crash tomorrow? No, but I think traders need to stop assuming every dip in semis automatically gets bought now. Because the easy money in this trade may already be gone. And then Walmart added another layer to this tape. Beat earnings, but warned consumers are pulling back and trading down into essentials. That matters because that's not chart weakness, that's economic weakness. And if Walmart is starting to see pressure on the consumer, Target next week suddenly becomes very important. Now, while everybody was staring at Nvidia, money quietly flooded somewhere else completely different: quantum. And honestly, this is the first new trade I've seen in a while that actually feels early. Government announced $2 billion in grants into quantum computing firms. And immediately, rigetti exploded. D-Wave quantum exploded. Quantum computing exploded. IBM exploded. IBM moved 12%. And IBM almost never moves like that. That's the tell. Because when boring names suddenly start acting aggressively, institutional money is moving. And the reason I think this matters is because this is exactly how the AI trade started back in early 2024. Nobody cared at first. Then government money started entering. Then momentum started entering. Then retail showed up late. Now, am I saying quantum becomes the next Nvidia overnight? No. But I am saying this is the first real rotation trade that's looked powerful in months. And traders should pay attention to this. And then underneath all of this, two macro switches quietly flipped today. First, Iran. Reports hit that the final draft of a peace deal may be close. So, as a result of that, oil immediately dropped back to mid-90s. And if oil keeps falling, that changes the entire inflation conversation again. Second, yields backed off. 10-year yield finally cooled down from the recent highs. Not enough to fully reverse the market, but enough to stop the automatic sell tech pressure we have been seeing. And that is why today's rotation mattered. Because lower oil plus lower yields suddenly creates room for small caps, beaten down growth, speculative momentum trades. And that is why the move on IWM makes absolutely all the sense today. It outperformed. Quantum exploded. Semis stopped leading. The market is starting to search for new leadership. So now heading into tomorrow, and honestly, even next week, I'm trying to prepare myself for where the next rotation might be happening. Because if quantum actually becomes a new momentum trade, I want to be there early. And that's exactly why IBM becomes my number one watch tomorrow. Look at this move on IBM. It's 100-year-old stock does not randomly move 12% unless institutions are seriously positioning into something. And if you have been following this channel, you already know this is how I trade. I identify the names showing relative strength before the big breakout happens. Then I stock those names very aggressively into the next session. Apple was the perfect example of that. Apple made me over $4,000 just by following the game plan today. And that's the game plan I share here. And it was absolutely incredible. Last time we talked, I told you guys Apple was one of my top watches as long as it stayed above the 295 area. Why? Because Apple was already acting stronger than the rest of the market. So all it needed was a little bit of momentum from the overall market. And the moment the market pushed, Apple exploded out of this box, essentially, that we were watching like a hawk. It eventually broke out of that $300 level. The trade started as a day trade for me, and honestly, it turned into a beautiful swing. This is where I was entering my longs. And this is absolutely a monster trade so far. And that only happened because the game plan stayed clear. Because once the move starts, the easy money usually comes fast. And now that brings me back to IBM. The line I care about tomorrow is 248. That's the line in the sand for me. As long as IBM stays above 248 and buyers continue defending that area, I think this becomes one of the most interesting momentum trades on the tape. The first target I'm watching is 259. And if IBM can actually clear 259 with momentum, then I think 270 becomes a realistic target fast. So this is absolutely one of those names I'll be watching like a hawk tomorrow. And the second name is AMD. Because look, we still have to prepare for both scenarios. Maybe the AI trade really is cooling off, or maybe today was just temporary rotation and semis catch a bid again next week. That's why AMD matters. And honestly, AMD still looks very constructive here. The stock defended 403 beautifully. The previous breakout area basically turned into a double bottom here. In fact, triple bottom, I would say. The level that I care about now is 470. That's the level I care about. That's the breakout spot. So heading into tomorrow, IBM is my quantum watch, AMD is my AI continuation watch, and whichever one catches real momentum first, that's probably where I'll start getting aggressive. If you have been finding these levels useful and want to stay connected with the names I'm watching every day, consider subscribing. My goal here is simple. Understand where money is flowing, why it's flowing there, and how we can position around it as day traders and swing traders. That's the game. I'll see you in the next one. Take care for now.